Hello and welcome everyone. My name is Bill Flanagan and I'm the President and Vice Chancellor of the University of Alberta. And I'm really pleased to welcome you all to what is really marking the launch of a much broader university consultation on building the University of Alberta for tomorrow. As you know, this initiative began in May when we launched the initiative, the University of Alberta for Tomorrow, with a very ambitious program of academic and administrative restructuring. It's a bold initiative, really one unprecedented among Canadian universities. But as you know, the financial challenges facing the University of Alberta are also unprecedented. And it's really requiring us to think creatively, and I think very deeply, not only about what the University of Alberta for tomorrow will look like, but really what the University of tomorrow will look like. And I think this is a tremendous opportunity for us to turn our challenges now, our financial challenges, into an opportunity of strategic transformation of the university, really leading the way to build a much more nimble, financially sustainable university that will offer an even greater learning experience to our students and have a research impact that spans not only Canada but around the globe. So I'm actually very excited about this process and this consultation with the broader university community, and really pleased to share with you some of our thoughts to date.
I'd like to talk just a little bit about the journey that the working group has gone down. So we started with our vision and our need to support that. We also started with a philosophy that everything has to be on the table. Every option must be considered. Key part of this was to rethink about our academic part of the organization and the respective roles of our faculties or departments in delivering not only the teaching and the research, but also the administration that supports that. And rethinking about where in the organization it makes the most sense to be doing some of these functions so that we can not only be effective, but also make sure that we're efficient. We decided first to focus on the faculty structure. We recognize we'll have to come back and look at departments, but we needed to get the bigger blocks worked out first, and that will allow us then to work forward with more confidence in where the rest of the pieces go. We started thinking about a blank piece of paper. If we had no history, what would we start with? And that took us down some radically different ideas, looking at faculties as being organized around thematic areas or focal topics rather than disciplines. We realized that might have potential, but right now it's probably too far of a bridge to go in the time that we have and a little too risky. So we moved then to an approach which is about consolidation, looking at our existing faculties and departments and can we bring them together into tighter, leaner combinations and still achieve many of those objectives we laid out. We looked carefully around the world, looking at peer institutions, what have they done as they've tackled similar sorts of problems. And we realized that larger faculties, just by their nature, are more efficient, particularly when it comes to administration. And that led us to the concept of economies of scale and the need to drive that as part of the strategy towards savings. So we started this process starting with our smallest faculties, how can we put them together in different combinations and see what we could come up with for both financial opportunities, but particularly academic synergies. And so of our scenarios, scenario A really represents this journey. It starts by looking at our 5 smaller health sciences faculties, brings them together into a single unit that we know will provide opportunities for interprofessional education, some exciting new undergraduate health sciences programming, and the opportunity for them to share common content and reduce any overlap and duplication. So that's where scenario got started. The challenge that we had in extending it any farther is running into the unique missions of some of our smaller community-focused faculties and how absorbing them significantly undermines their ability to take on those missions, as well as we start to end up with combinations that really make less academic sense. The synergies are not so evident. So scenario A doesn't take us as far as we would like to go. and only impacts a small part of the institution, and we thought that was a concern. Scenario B takes consolidation to pretty much to its logical conclusion. Here we have 3 large units aligned along the tri-council agencies, plus 3 smaller standalone units that are the community-facing ones. And while we realize this is potentially disruptive and a bit radical initially, we thought it was probably too much. We did realize, as we looked at it more, there are some significant benefits and some ways for us to move forward and make it work. We felt that it was an affiliation that would be familiar to us. We're all quite familiar with the tri-agency alignments, and could see that this is a real opportunity for us to have increased success by focusing on those funding agencies. We're also just simply the breadth of those units. That gives us great opportunities for interdisciplinarity and building a more substantial academic platform. We looked at creating a division and bringing the existing faculties together in 3 of those divisions as a new model for how we'd organize the university. That allows us to retain faculty identities within the division, which is something that we heard was quite important for retaining identity and stature. But we also gain some significant cost efficiencies by bringing administration in particular and some of the academic functions to that higher level at the division level. We also like that scenario B does impact the entire institution fairly equally. We're all in the same boat together. Scenario C is a bit of a mix between the two. It does faculty consolidations where we could find opportunities for them to make sense, that there was a rationale and an opportunity for synergy. Where that synergy didn't exist, we would nonetheless proceed on a divisional approach, consolidating, if not the academic components, at least the administrative elements. So what we end up with are consolidated faculties of health sciences, which we've talked about, arts and sciences, a relatively common U15 construct, and an applied sciences faculty. Almost everyone else gets rolled up into the division, shared administrative functions, and gaining the economies of scale on that side. It's not as bold a plan, but it is a very practical one. So we're bringing these 3 plans forward for your consideration. We'd like your feedback. We'd like to know what's working and what's not working, and how to move forward.
I have no doubt that each of these proposals will help to drive a University of Alberta for tomorrow that will be more nimble, more efficient, more entrepreneurial, and one that will deepen our commitment to the learning experience of our students, teaching and research, and community engagement. And I look forward to a broader process of consultation with the entire university community as we examine each of these 3 scenarios, consider any other scenarios that the committee may have missed. We very much welcome your feedback. I know that what we're proposing with the University of Alberta for tomorrow will not succeed without a very high degree of transparency and community engagement. So I look forward to this process of continuing to engage with all members of the university community. I thank you for your input, and I thank you above all for your commitment to the well-being of the university and its future. Thank you.